Now, I came across this particular article that I thought was very interesting because I've never heard of this particular website that apparently monitors and tracks community sentiment around any given thing. Mostly gaming, it seems like they focus on. And I think it's pretty damn interesting because right now you guys are very much aware that Ubisoft is trying to change the entire narrative surrounding Assassin's Creed Shadows into something that's positive. They try to claim to their investors that, oh yeah, community sentiment is extremely positive regarding the game, but apparently, according to this website that monitors stuff like this, that's actually a bold-faced lie, and we pretty much already knew that.
That's cap. I accuse you of capping.
Now, we have an article here from That Part Place with a headline that reads, New Player Sentiment Analysis Contradicts Ubisoft's Claim that Assassin's Creed Shadows has positive community sentiment. Now, we already know, like I said, a lot of the drama is pretty damn hard out there for Assassin's Creed Shadows. People are not liking this game, and it's not just white right-wingers, as they like to make it seem. There's a lot of different kinds of people that don't like the obvious virtue signal for the decision to use Yasuke as a samurai to represent all of feudal Japan. You know, it was a pretty obvious decision. At least I should say it was pretty obvious why they made that decision. And even though they get called out on it, they want to pretend as if everybody's in love with them. So let's get into this article from That Part Plays. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. Now, I think that this particular website or this particular analysis that's conducted by something called Player XP, I think it's going to be very interesting moving forward, because if they do more of this stuff for other video games in the AAA sector, I think it's going to completely destroy the bullshit narrative that they try to spin around a lot of their virtue signaling games. It says a new player sentiment analysis conducted by Player XP contradicts Ubisoft's claim that Assassin's Creed Shadows has positive community sentiment. During the company's Q1 FY 2025 sales conference in July, an investor from HSBC asked about how pre-orders for both Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows compared to previous Ubisoft releases. Now, this is what I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and this is why these investor calls are very important to listen to, because they have to publicly lie and they have to publicly spin the story around these games. And us, right? Us who are involved in this whole nonsense, us who know what's truly happening out there, what people are really thinking, people like us, when we watch these investors calls, it's unfortunate because we can catch the bullshit pretty easily. But these investors are fucking stupid, right? They have more money than they have knowledge over what's happening in the actual gaming space. They don't care about the culture aspect. They only want to see returns on their money. And when it comes to them not getting returns on their money, they're too busy listening to these fucking CEOs and these people who are obviously lying to them. They're listening to them, and they're not investigating themselves and realizing what's truly happening and why things are starting to spin in the opposite direction. It says Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot responded, "We don't disclose nor comment on pre-orders usually." Stop right there. I'm telling you right now, and I say this in every single video that I make about this subject or something similar. If I'm an investor for a certain company and I ask a question and they say they can't comment on it, chances are I'm going to pull out of that company. If you mean to tell me that you can't comment at all about my particular question regarding where I'm spending my money, I think that is a huge issue. And I think a lot more investors need to be a little bit smarter when it comes to these kind of companies that will give you this bullshit response. If you're saying you can't comment on pre-orders usually, that means that you can comment on pre-orders sometimes. And you better make that sometime now when I'm asking you. Then he says, what we can say, what we've been observing and measuring is that our own two big titles actually are among the most awaited games of the industry, and they enjoy very strong positive community sentiment overall. Okay, so if that's the case, let's get into now Player XP's little analysis that we have going on here. It says, however, Player XP's community sentiment report for Assassin's Creed Shadows disputes this claim. The company found that the overall sentiment calculated, which represents the voice of the players, is negative 13. Now, I don't know what that means in general regarding to their, I guess, to the way that they break everything down. But considering that it's in red, you gotta imagine it's probably not a good thing. But I do like the fact that it breaks it down through different platforms. It actually shows you what the actual conversation is like on each particular platform. And I like it. I like that a lot because we all know each platform is very different. Each platform has very much a different kind of mindset when it comes to the content that's there, right? YouTube is a little more, I guess, a little more nuanced. You know, you have basically everything on YouTube. Twitter is now finally allowing a little bit of everything. TikTok is very young, right? TikTok is very young, very TikTok brain, right? People who have ADD can't really focus for longer than 10 to 15 seconds. Facebook has all the old people, right? For the most part, Facebook is all older people. So it's interesting. Now let's see what's going on here. It said it had a negative 14 rating on YouTube, where the majority of interactions came from. Okay, so it has a total interaction in this sample of 129,633, okay? This was taken from 15/05/2024 to 23/07/2024, okay? So a few months. Now, if you look at the actual interaction, negative 14 on YouTube, negative 7 on X. So it's really not that bad on X. I think that closer to 0 usually is more even. Positive 2 on TikTok, not surprising, considering that, again, TikTok, younger crowd, they don't really, they're a little bit too stupid, unfortunately, to understand when a company is trying to utilize them for a virtue signal. And then, this is the most shocking one to me. Negative 55 rating on Facebook, albeit it only factored in 105 interactions. So even though that had the biggest negative sentiment out of all the platforms, it had the smallest sample. Because Facebook, let's be real, man, you're not going to find a lot of this content on Facebook. People are going to X for that, right? Or YouTube for that. So I think this is interesting that out of it, basically it's half of the sentiment, half of the interactions that they found were negative, which is pretty insane. Furthermore, the analysis detailed many of the biggest talking points and keywords have negative sentiment, including Japan, Ubisoft, Yasuke, and history. Player XP noted that these all have significant negative sentiment associated with the historical element being the most negative at negative 45. This has been driven by players expressing concerns about the historical accuracy and cultural depiction. It added additionally, the character Yasuke has received a negative sentiment score of negative 17 from the player community. Aligning with the themes, players have highlighted inaccuracies related to this character. It is worth noting that Ubisoft player community is highly engaged with a record number of interactions in a short date range, and talking points around excitement of the new launch drove positive sentiment to plus 34 player XP shared. So, okay, let's look at this. Look at this breakdown here. So you got interactions, positive, neutral, negative, and the overall sentiment, right? They have Japanese/Japan. The majority of it is 1,444 interactions, and it seems like a negative 36 sentiment. Ubisoft or Ubi has 1,001 interactions with a negative 39 sentiment. Yasuke's 592 with a negative 17. History/historical 543 with a negative 45. And Assassin's Creed overall Assassin's Creed, the discussion of Assassin's Creed in general, I assume, is a +1. So it's damn near at 0. That's how close it is to even in terms of that conversation. But everything else related to that particular conversation is negative across the board. And not even by the light amount. We're talking massively negative. Everything is in the red. Later in the report, Player XP detailed that one of the primary areas of negative sentiment emerged from around the monetization category. That I'm not surprised. Notably, the monetization topic is a recurring source of dissatisfaction, as seen in the community's reaction to both Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. The player community has voiced frustrations about Ubisoft's perceived prioritization of monetization strategies over player experience, a sentiment that is influencing their reception of Assassin's Creed Shadows. The consistent negative feedback regarding monetization strategies suggests that players feel unheard, affecting their overall trust in Ubisoft. Now, listen, I've been saying this for the longest time, man. Yep, the woke shit is very annoying. Let's not pretend like it's not, okay? The woke shit is absolutely annoying. We know exactly why they're doing what they're doing in both games, all right? They may try to gaslight you. They may try to lie to you over the reason why it's happening, but we all know why it's happening. It's very clear. Anybody with a brain can see that. However, the main topic that people should be talking about is the corporate monetization and the fact that they're trying to literally rip you off, all right? They are ripping you off through and through. There is no doubt about it. They're charging you $139.99 for what's considered the ultimate edition of the game, and that's because they want to try to push you to their monthly subscription service. This is the reason why they're making their ultimate edition so expensive, because they win regardless, right? Even if you do not subscribe to Ubisoft Plus or whatever the fuck it's called, at the end of the day, if they can convince you to spend $140 on a singular game, they got you either way. It doesn't matter. Obviously, they would rather have you as a subscription person because it's better for their investors, but it doesn't matter. They got a ton of money up front where they normally wouldn't charge you that much money. So if you buy this game, they got you. It just doesn't matter. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.